Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Leaders and Friends. I'm so happy to be here today with Mihir Shukla, who's the founder of Automation Anywhere, one of the seven wonders of AI. That's what Forbes says. Mihir has built the company over the last 20 plus years. He's one of these 7 by 24 founders who's just like burns with how to make the future happen. He's a good friend, and I look forward to a great discussion here. Thanks, and welcome to Leaders and Friends.
Great to be with you, Jeff. I learned a lot from you.
That's great. That's great. So start just maybe just very briefly give the audience kind of like the genesis of Automation Anywhere and kind of how you build it and where you are today, and then we'll pivot from there into kind of like what you're doing now and where all of tech is. But everybody always enjoys hearing a founder's story.
Of course. So Automation Anywhere is a AI and automation software company. We serve enterprises all over the world. Today, we have over 5,000 customers in over 90 countries, and we run their business processes, almost anything and everything you can think of on how world works. Processing mortgages, claims, supply chains, everything you touch has a business process behind it. And likely 40% of it, if not more, is run by us. Today, we run about 400 million plus digital workers. These are digital processes that many of them are fully AI infused. Many of them are now Gen AI infused. So just give you a size and scale of what Automation Anywhere is today and what it does. But to your question, the origin story is I had, prior to Automation Anywhere, about five different multi-billion dollar journeys in different roles, not as a CEO. And so I was thinking of what to do next. And by the time I had seen a planet that was, we were all sitting in cubicles and doing work that we shouldn't be doing, in my view. And we thought the work could be different and we could reimagine how this happens. And we had this audacious idea, Jeff, and I sometimes makes me laugh because I don't know what gave us permission to think this audaciously. But we said, what if we could reallocate intellectual capacity of the planet to a more worthy cause?
Mm,
And it came from the previous industrial revolutions because that's what industrial revolutions ended up doing, the previous ones. And as a result of it, the fact that we are talking on a digital medium, maybe the fact that both of us are alive and many other things has contributed to the fact that people started thinking about more important things. And we said, what if we could do that in our time? And
mm,
what could human beings do that we could never do before? How
mhm.
does humanity as a civilization takes a next big step? And I remember I used to say this where I said, look, our civilization has a huge potential. We are a civilization that 100 years from now will be skiing on the slopes of this Mars and going the rings of the Saturn and tapping black hole as an energy source. We weren't put on this planet to do invoices and claims and, now we should take pride in whatever needs to get done.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you keep doing that what you started with. So this audacious idea to reallocate intellectual capacity, and we do that by reimagining work.
Yeah.
And so our vision is that 80% of work that we do today will either be, but a part of it will be fully autonomous, and a part of it will be assisted by AI, but
Mhm.
it will reimagine how work happens on the planet. And in the journey, the goal is to unleash the human potential, and
Mhm.
that remains true today after 20 plus years.
That's cool. Now you had co-founders and the team's been together all this time. Like how does that happen and how does that work? And do you love each other every day and hate each other some days? Or how do you grow something with, people from zero to where you are today?
In many ways, that's the most powerful human force we have, right? In a sense that Four of us united by trust. It starts by friendship and trust and resilience, and united by great purpose. But then it evolves into scale and accountability and governance and
Mhm.
the clear decision making. But during all of that process, the core, the trust and what we built remains the same.
Yeah.
And that for a technology company, Jeff, that's a tremendous asset because, as you know, along the way, you are you every 3 to 5 years something new happens and you have to reimagine many things.
Hmm.
And having founders who have role in creating the category are a different breed. You need all kinds of people, but there are not many people who could reimagine everything in 2 weeks. And
Okay.
I feel very, I take pride in the fact that four of us are still together.
Yeah, no, no, it's super cool. So, I came from the legacy world and I would consider myself to be a good leader through cycles. I've seen almost every cycle, but I think for friends of mine in the traditional world, what tech entrepreneurs have to do is pivot almost constantly. And Mihir, talk a little bit about like, you've had to pivot to cloud and now AI. You've had to pivot through generations of leadership teams. Like how does a founder pivot, in this world that's just
Ah,
so damn dynamic? It's like,
that's a great question. Uh, Jeff, I believe that the word pivot is sometimes overused in our industry because it implies that whatever we were doing that wasn't working. I
hmm
think of more like building a skyscraper because you have a foundation and then you build the first three stories and the 100th story that you build doesn't look like the first story you built. So it's very different for sure, but you're constructing it on top of it. I'm sure part of it you're reimagining it, but you're not always completely you're not a pendulum and you're not changing course every time.
hmm
So that's how I think about it. So if you think about it, our journey, at least for our journey, we the foundation of fuel the future of work by unleashing human potential. That purpose hasn't changed in 20 plus years. Yeah,
hmm
that remains the foundation. A couple of first floors were all about inventing a new technology that could reimagine how all systems could be connected. Later on, it would be called robotic process automation. Then we delivered, as you mentioned, the cloud, the entirely new delivery model came. So we had to add cloud floor to it. And today, significant amount of it happens just through cloud. But that accelerated the innovation cycle. So
hmm
it just keeps adding floors to the foundation.
hmm
And then last about 3 years ago, we started experimenting with generative AI. This is before ChatGPT was known to us.
hmm
We were playing with some of the fundamental technologies, and every 3 to 5 years, Jeff, a technology company part of it gets refounded, or a completely new floors come up in my analogy. And so we were reimagining how work could happen. And so that is the most recent change in our organization. We could talk a little more about it along the way, but it is important to keep doing that every 3 to 5 years
Yeah,
and
just make it
add to it and
add to it. Yeah.
add to it, right? And keep bringing more and more value, faster and faster value
Yeah.
proposition to your customer. Everything gets better.
So I'll get to AI in a sec, but before we do, talk about the cultural aspects of, and again, it's not necessarily unique to Automation Anywhere, but there's a founder culture and there's a professional management culture. So you come from the founder culture, I come from the professional management culture. Together, we have to build a great company. How do you do that from a human standpoint of bringing people in who haven't had to fight and claw the way you have and bring them into the organization and build a unified culture?
Uh, um, I think the way I think about it is that you can divide them into the founder culture or a professional culture. But the way we think about that is there are two types of people in the world. One that has, let's say, 15-year experience, uh, and other one that has 3 year experience 5 times over.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Now, there's two types of people. Now,
Yeah.
typically, founder tends to be the 15-year experience type because every time you're doing something new, so you're learning new, you're always learning something different.
Hmm.
And what we learned is that in our market, in our space, the people that work are the people who have 15-year experience, in my example. The
Hmm.
3 year experience with 5 times over with a predefined templates and trying to apply the same templates again and again is often not successful. And as you know, the time is different, product is different, customer is different, market is different.
Hmm.
And so I don't differentiate between founders and professionals that way. I define it, if you are that type, whatever that type is, you are our type. You are the
Hmm.
type that can create unbelievable companies, can help it scale, can reimagine, um, and that's what is important.
Hmm.
And you can relate to customers' problem and reinvent at the need of an hour. You need all of those things.
I think that's a great answer. I wish I had thought of it, but you did even better. Let's shift to artificial intelligence. Here it's like everybody on Earth is talking about it. Everybody uses the buzzword, but explain it both from a standpoint of, you know, how do you build a tech company that can benefit from this and not get crushed by it? And then the other one, put yourself in the shoes of a CIO or a CFO
Yeah,
of an old world company, a legacy company like GE. How do you access it? Like, how do you make it more than just a buzzword and things like that? So
yeah,
you know both sides. Give us kind of like both sides of the story.
yeah. So you can't go anywhere without hearing about AI today. But I think if I have to broadly divide the market into two aspects, the at the beginning of any category, the market is primarily focused on creating an infrastructure, as you Jeff, as you know very well. 179 railways in the United States at one point, and we had 200 internet service providers, and many of us fondly remember AOL. And these are all the people who had to create a foundational infrastructure. That's what most of the AI conversation is today. This is about chips and data centers, and it is essential. You need the infrastructure. But its true potential and the value capture always happens in the application layer. So think about today's multi-billion dollar, multi-trillion dollar internet companies. They aren't the internet service providers. Um, and so the true future of the value capture will happen in the applications that will sit on the current AI infrastructure. And for most customers, that is where they need to focus. Companies like GE. So um, I think what when I talk to the CEOs and different and boards, the focus is on creating an AI first enterprise. And but what does that even mean? What does an AI first enterprise mean?
Mhm.
AI first enterprise means your revenue growth acceleration is faster. Your per unit economics of cost is 40% lower. Your response time to your customers is sometimes in seconds and not in minutes, and not in hours or days. You are able to personalize and customize superior customer experience that we all value as a customer, and not have this fixed solution for everybody. Um, you have a flatter hierarchy in the organization. Everybody is more empowered. It's about smaller teams. I often think of them as SEAL teams, where multiple skill sets come together for a mission and they are trying to accomplish a mission versus you're part of this large department with 2,000 people in it.
Mhm.
So a very different way it means different things for your customer, a much better world for your customer, much better world for employees, but most importantly, a very, very different way to operate.
Mhm.
And how do you achieve this? You achieve it by reimagining how all your business processes and how you interact with your customers, partners, and employees differently. In many cases, you could do 40 to 60% fully autonomous by
Mhm.
no human in the loop. because technology has come to a point where 40 to 60% of what we do doesn't need us.
Mhm.
But it means that the other 60% you can do better. You can reimagine it. You can
Mhm.
add more value to it. You can bring new products and services to your customers.
Mhm.
Um,
Is there a way that a company, here, like, like if you're a railroad or a hospital or something like that, is there like one or two ways to start? That's where I find most
yeah,
people kind of getting just, like torn down because what they've done in the past is they've done a CRM system or they've done
yeah.
electronic health record or something like that. And this needs a different skill set, really.
It does, but I often so when I meet the customer, let's take an healthcare example, and we instead of talking about technology, I'd say, what problems, if it got solved, you would say, wow, that's the best thing that has happened to me. What
Mm,
is that? And for example, one of the problems, especially in the United States, we are dealing with is just the lack of available of clinical staff and
mm,
nurses.
mhm,
And we found that in many cases, the doctors and the clinical staff were spending 15-minute pre-visit, 15 minutes post-visit, and
mm,
20 minutes talking to a patient.
mm,
That picture, there's something wrong about that picture, where you spend less time with the patient and more time doing pre and post work. Um, so this is an example where if you can automate those pre and post processes, which with technology is there, and we do it for many of our customers today. Uh, Now the doctor has more time to spend with more patients.
mm.
That's a problem that virtually every healthcare provider that we speak to relates to, and a problem that couldn't wait an extra day if we could solve it today, right? It's
No,
a
that makes sense.
burning platform.
That makes sense. You've built the company over, a couple decades. The company's growing, it's profitable, things like that. How do you think about as like a founder and CEO, how do you think about being a private company, being a public company, acquiring companies, being acquired? You're kind of like at the cusp where successful companies get to where you try to think about how do you take it to the next level and quickly. How do you think about what can you share
Uh,
with our
I
listeners
think
about like how does a founder think about all these things,
uh,
right?
I think I think everything is time and place. So you always start as a private company. For us, the next step is being a public company, whenever that is. I have to tell SEC first before I could tell your listeners. But that's the next step because it's just a natural next step because we have an amazing growth, especially our AI revenues are growing 70% over just one of the fastest growing offerings we have. Great margins, very sustainable, predictable revenue. So, in all sense, we have come to a place where the next logical step is to operate like a public company. But there, Jeff, what I think about it is it's being a public company is just a step in a logical next step, but it's about creating an enduring company that has scaled and runs that way for many years. And in technology space, to create an enduring company like that, it's possible to create a company that you does 20 million and gets sold. That's one type of a company. But how do you create an enduring companies like Microsoft and Google and Apple and all of them not without their share of challenges?
Hmm.
What does that look like? Now that excites me.
Hmm.
IPO excites me, but it's just an event. What does the after IPO look like? What does that company look like? And how that is exciting to me. And you have to be curious about something.
Hmm.
And that I'm curious about and excited about, and how to create that kind of a large, enduring company that I enjoy. The other thing you mentioned about buying and being
Yeah.
sold, and I, I think of it less than most people might think because Most times I'm thinking about creating a great company that can stand on its own, is a great business that provides great value to its customers, partners, and employees. All the things that I should be doing no matter what. Once you do all of that, you have more choices.
Hmm.
You can go public, you can acquire companies, somebody can acquire you, and some of it you decide, some of it somebody else decides,
Hmm.
at least to start. So it comes and goes, right? Along this journey, those things happen, and you make those decisions as it happens. Um, and the way I make that decision is use mission statement and the financials, two sides, right? Our mission statement can whatever I do, will it serve our mission better? Because it's not about me or any one of us individual. It's about we exist to serve a mission. That's why a
Hmm.
company exists, to serve its customers and its mission. If it can do that better, then whatever the answer is a good answer.
Hmm.
And then does it fit within the financial models and returns that you're looking for?
Hmm.
If those two make sense, all other decisions are, whether you buy something or get sold is the same decision, same.
Um, you're one of the few people that I've worked with that can go, can go from a granular $2 million order that's at a customer in Australia. You'll know all the details, the purchasing manager's name, stuff like that. And then 15 minutes later, stand on a stage in front of 500 customers and talk about the future of work as a visionary, like, here's where the world's going, stuff like that. Like how do you manage mentally such a broad range? I worked for Jack Welch for 20 years, loved working for him, and he could go from like a speck of dirt on the ground to 15,000 feet. He was bored at 30,000 feet. Like he was bored at 30,000 feet. But I always, he was always great at like blending details into things like that. You can go from a speck of dirt to 60,000 feet. Like, how do you do it?
The first thing is I enjoy it, which is probably most important part of it. Because when you enjoy something, it's not an effort. I learned a lot by staying at the ground level, and the closest you are to a customer, and you could look in the eye of your users. Um, uh, I remember this story, Jeff, where we started the company and we weren't able to raise capital because world hadn't realized we were a little too early yet, right? And we go around and people aren't quite relating to what we do yet, but 15 years, 15 years ago. And people say, why do you believe what you believe? And I said, look, I have walked on the halls of the customers and I've spoken to people and looking in their eyes, my users. And I've asked them, and even today I asked them, and I said, what would happen if these things disappeared tomorrow? You used to work before this, right? So you'd be okay, right? And you see and say, no, I cannot go back. I cannot go back to the way I was working. I would leave job. I would do some, I, and you say you are doing something right. This is value that some people have to recognize one day. And whether CEOs change or the middle management change, but when employees refuse to do the work they were doing before, nobody has a choice but to change.
Hmm.
So that ground level interaction gives you're grounded in reality to your users and your customers and values. And as I said, as I often say, you don't have a God-given right to exist. You only exist to serve your customers and users. So that's foundational to us,
Yeah.
and I enjoy it so much. On your comment on a visionary, Jeff, recently something happened that grounds all of us. I went to my daughter's high school to talk about, they had invited, time to time, they invite some of the wonders of AI and what all we are up to. And so I took the opportunity to talk to them. And I mentioned my vision of what we are trying to do. and the students were not impressed. And I thought, it's my job to pitch, and I took little personally, and I thought I'm not doing it right because this is my job. So I tried to do it a few different ways, and I wasn't quite succeeding. So then the students, one of them asked us and said, if you think this is a big deal, how do you do it today? If this is the new thing, what is the old thing? And so I described to them how we sit in a cubicle and we work the way we have always worked last 30 years, and that's the current world. And they look at me and say, why do you do it that way? And I say, you're right. The visionary of one generation is a common sense for next.
Hmm. That's a
And
great way to say it. Yeah.
and for them, this was a common sense.
Yeah.
And so then in many ways, our job is to make whatever we are envisioning into a common sense. Because,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah. Last question. Really, when you look out and you're talking to your daughter again,
yeah,
give us like what is the one thing that everybody can learn from you about what's made you successful, a good leader? What's the gift that you can share with everybody that's going to be listening in?
I think I always tell people that I'll tell you what worked for me. No guarantee it would work for you. You take what you like and throw away the rest. I think what worked for me is. We had a purpose that was greater than ourselves, and I didn't realize that, but I think every time when at the beginning of the company I was talking to people, I was talking about the purpose and why I'm so passionate about it, and amazing people with different capabilities, because you never have enough capabilities between the few founders you have. The purpose appealed to them, and capital, people who had capital, it appealed to them, and so different resources and skill set came together, united by the purpose. Uh, and a leader's ability to unite so many capabilities and resources and channel it through a greater purpose than any one of us would have done is true for every leader, not just
Mhm.
CEOs, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's what it is about. And you can unite vast amount of people with different types and skill sets and experiences under an umbrella, if it is large enough and big enough to accommodate everybody.
Mihir, thanks so much. I think kind of the last generation of IT tools were technologies that the CIO did to the workers, right?
Yeah.
The next generation is going to be this common blending of technology with work, and how do you make it more meaningful, more productive? Mihir has been one of the leaders of this, as has Automation Anywhere. So Mihir, thanks for a great session. It's great to work with you. I've learned a lot from you, and I think our audience will really love this segment. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. I think we are going into the world which where it was people serving applications to now AI serving people,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of goodness there.
different way to lead. Thanks, Mihir.
Thank
Good to
you.
be with you.